even when everybody else did too. I don't know how many times I had thought about Betsy Cavalier's murder and wondered who the killer was. But I did it again as I sat in the car. I stayed there for several hours. Jamila and I talked a couple of times. She urged me to come up to her apartment. I said no. Let me do it my way, Jam. It was getting late, though, and I was beginning to fade. I saw the lights in her apartment go off. Good for her. At least one of us was acting sane. I continued to wait. Something powerful, dramatic, haunting was nagging at me. Something I almost didn't want to face. The clues had been there, but I hadn't wanted to see them for what they were. I wanted to follow my famous instincts. And look where it had gotten me. I had blown it for so long. Then I saw him, and everything made sense. Suddenly the puzzle was clear. All the pieces fit. Not just Betsy's murder, but the Casanova murder. The stalking of Kate McTiernan. The fact that he'd always been able to keep a step ahead of me. The killer was here on Jamila Street. The mastermind was here in San Francisco. I was sure, and it made me dizzy with fear. But it also filled me with incredible disappointment. Sadness, confusion. I felt like I might throw up. It was Kyle Craig. He was watching Jamila's place, stalking her like the madman that he was. The goddamn mastermind had come here to kill her. Now, how could I stop him? Chapter 97. Jamila, are you awake? I said in a low, tense voice. I felt a shudder run through me. It couldn't get any worse than this. I still had my eye on Kyle. He was definitely watching Jamila's building. God damn him to hell. I am now. No, I was awake. Where are you, Alex? Don't tell me you're still outside. Please don't tell me that. Alex, what the hell is going on? Listen to me. The mastermind is outside your place. I can see him. I think he'll try to get inside soon. I want to come up there, and I don't want him to see me. Is there a back way? Then I told her who the killer was. She exploded with anger, most of it directed at Kyle. I knew there was something seriously wrong with him, but not this wrong. We have to stop that son of a bitch. I don't care how smart he's supposed to be. She told me where to look for a service entrance, and then a fire escape that would take me to her floor. I hurried around in the shadows. I didn't think that Kyle had seen me. I hope not. But after all, he was the mastermind. He was smart, as clever as anyone I'd ever worked against. He knew about surveillance, probably a lot more than I did. He didn't make mistakes, at least not until now. I found the back entrance of her building easily, and I hurried up the stairs. I tried not to make noise. I had no way of knowing where Kyle was right now. When I got to her apartment, the door was open. My stomach dropped, and I felt sick. Jamila? She immediately peeked out through the doorway. Come inside. I'm fine, Alex. We've got him now, not the other way around. I hurried inside the apartment, and we kept all the lights off. I could still see most of the living room and kitchen, the doorway to a small terrace, a bay window with bench seating. Her home, the place where he wanted to violate her. I snuck a look outside. I didn't see Kyle on the street. He was on the move. Jamila didn't look frightened, just perplexed and angry. She had her service revolver out. She was ready for whatever might happen. I don't think I had fully taken in what had just happened outside. Everything felt unreal. My vision was tunneled. My nerves felt shredded and raw. Kyle Craig had been my friend. We had worked half a dozen cases together. Why is he outside, Alex? Jamila finally asked. Why is he coming after me? I don't understand that asshole. What did I do to him? I stared into her eyes, hesitated a second or two, then finally spoke. He's not really here to get you. At least I don't think so. It's about me. It's about Kyle and me. I've become part of his fantasy, the story he tells himself every day. He's proving how much better than me he is. He has to prove that he really is the mastermind.
Chapter 98. The mastermind had already made his next move, though he knew it was only a half step in the greater scheme of things. He had pulled back. He was 6 blocks away from Jamila Hughes' apartment, standing on a hill past the Jackson playground. It allowed him to watch her building, the bay window, the small terrace on one side. He enjoyed this, the intractable imposition of his will, his ego, on the world. It had been this way for more than a dozen years. No one had come close to capturing him, or even suspecting who he really was. Cross was inside now, and that made everything either very hard, or perhaps easier. There was another decision to be made soon. Should he risk everything at this point? Change everything? For years, he had been living a complicated double life. He'd done whatever he wanted, wherever, whenever. He had enjoyed his freedom, and how many others had even tasted that forbidden fruit? He had been the cop and the criminal. But maybe it was time for a change. Maybe his life had become too safe, too predictable. Kyle loved the hunt, and in that way, he was like Casanova and the gentleman caller, 2 very talented killers he had known well, one working in North Carolina, the other in Southern California. He found that he agreed with Casanova that men needed to be hunters by nature, and so he hunted, men and women, and he enjoyed killing both sexes. But he went an important step further. He hunted their killers as well. He eliminated his competition. He beat them at their own games. He had known Casanova years before the meticulous and very nasty killer was caught by himself and Dr. Cross. He had played murder games with Casanova and with the gentleman caller. Kiss the girls and make them cry. Kyle had even fallen in love with one of the victims, young Kate McTiernan. He still had a soft spot for dear, sweet Kate. He had been so many things to so many people, played so many roles, and he had only just begun. He had been the mastermind, but he also helped capture the man believed to be the mastermind. How could you beat that for puzzle-making and puzzle-solving? He'd been an elusive killer in Baltimore, in Cincinnati, in Roanoke, Virginia, in Philadelphia, until he had tired of those cities and the minor roles he played in them. He was husband to Louise, father to Bradley in Virginia. He was on the fast track inside the FBI with one significant problem. He believed they were finally on to him. He was sure of it, though God, they were such obvious plodding fools. So many exciting roles, so many poses, that sometimes Kyle Craig wondered who he actually was. Now the game with Alex Cross had to end. He'd felt the need to taunt and torture Cross, to prove he was the homicide detective's master. And then he had gone over the edge a little himself. It had happened when he killed Betsy Cavalier, one of his own agents. Actually, the killing couldn't be helped. Cavalier had become suspicious of him while she was chasing the mastermind with Cross. She had to go, had to die. And so did Cross. Cross was loyal to his friends, trusting, and it had become his greatest flaw, his singular weakness. But Cross would have caught on to him, even if he hadn't yet. And of course Cross's instincts had brought him here to watch over Inspector Hughes. Cross needed to be a good man, an ethical cop, a protector. What a waste of intellect. What a pity that Cross couldn't have been an even better adversary. Cross had seen him on the street, so what came next? Whatever it was, it certainly had his adrenaline flowing. This was so good. Kyle knew he had a little time to figure it out. What to do? They were inside Hughes's apartment. He had the edge on them. He wouldn't lose his edge, his advantage. He made his next move.
Chapter 99. You know, I never liked him, Alex, Jamila said as we waited in the semi-darkness of her apartment. He seemed so cold, almost mechanical to me. And I'm telling you, he doesn't like women. I felt it instantly. Well, unfortunately, I did like Kyle. He's clever as hell. He even rigged calls from the mastermind when he and I were together. Now I need to figure out who he really was. There's no psychosis involved, at least I don't think so. He's organized. He can obviously work out elaborate plans. For once, I wish he would call. Be careful what you wish for, Jamila said. She and I were sitting beside a shelving unit on the hardwood floor in her living room. There was also a workout bench. Nothing too fancy, an older model. 5- and 10-pound free weights were scattered on the floor. So were magazines and sections of the Chronicle. I hoped that Kyle couldn't see into the apartment, that he didn't have binoculars, or possibly a night scope attached to a rifle. I knew he could shoot from the way he'd taken down Michael Alexander. He was good at a lot of things. Just in case, Jamila and I tried to keep away from the windows. It makes me dizzy to think about what he's done so far. I wonder if we'll ever know the extent of it, she said. If we catch him, he'll want to talk. Kyle will want to show off what he's done. If he comes after us tonight, maybe we'll find everything out. You think he knows you're here? I sighed, shrugged. He probably knows I'm here. Maybe tonight is his coming out party. I know one thing. He won't do what we expect. The mastermind never does. That's the only real pattern he has. We talked about calling in reinforcements, but Jamila thought it would probably scare Kyle off. He wanted the two of us, right? That's what he would get. Do you want to taunt me anymore, you bastard? Go for it. Bring it, Kyle. So the two of us sat there in the dark, and it was almost cozy. Jamila finally reached out and touched my hand. Then we moved together, leaned against each other. We waited. At least it's comfortable, Jamila whispered, as stakeouts go. And no place like home, right? It was a little before 4 when we heard noises outside. Jamila turned and looked at me. We raised our guns. For the first time, I confronted the idea of shooting Kyle, a man I had thought was my friend. I didn't like the feeling. I wasn't sure how I would react, and that scared me. There were soft footsteps outside on the terrace. In a way, I was relieved. This was the showdown Kyle wanted. He was coming. I figured that the story he'd been telling for so long, his fantasy life, had finally taken over. Maybe he was psychotic now. That would give us an advantage. Real careful, I whispered, and touched the back of Jamila's hand. Try to look at it the way he does. Kyle thinks he has us where he wants us. He picked the lock quickly and expertly, a minimum of effort. I realized that he had been watching her place. He knew enough to come up the back stairs, and then he'd climbed a metal ladder onto the terrace. The lock on the door to the terrace of the apartment made a soft click. Then nothing happened. We're good. Everything's cool, Jamila whispered. This time we win. We waited in the dark near the door. It finally opened. Oh, so slowly. Kyle came inside. He moved toward us, in a low crouch. Obviously, he couldn't see where we were, but we could see him. I hit Kyle with all my weight, full force, every ounce of strength that I had. I slammed him hard against the living room wall. The whole apartment shook. Books and glasses fell to the floor from open shelves. I was surprised that we didn't go right through the wall. I clipped his chin with an elbow, as hard as I could. Felt good. Kyle was wiry and strong, but I was pumped to take him. I hit him with a hard, short right hand. It snapped into his jaw. I hit him in the solar plexus, a real gut-wrencher. I was going to hit him again, but then Jamila flicked on the room lights. My brain caught fire. My body shuddered. It wasn't Kyle Craig. Chapter 100. Get down! Get down! Get below the windows! I yelled at Jamila. I was afraid she might be hit by rifle fire. Kyle could be out there, and I knew that he could shoot. She went down and lay facing me, and also the man I had tackled coming in the door. He looked as confused as I felt. Who the hell was he?